scripture that we read earlier came from the book of John, John 4:23. So we'll read it again once more for your hearing. I like the Amplified version. It states, "But a time is coming and is already here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit, from the heart, the inner self, and in truth. For the Father seeks such people to be his worshipers. God is spirit, the source of life, yet invisible to mankind, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." Amen. Please take your seats. One of the things, with the checkup, in this year in 2019, I faced some challenges. I did. So, in typical male fashion, yes, our gender, we have a problem with doctors. Just do. So, in typical male fashion, I started to notice some changes, some challenges. One of which was I was constantly tired. I don't care how much sleep I got. So, again, my helpmate, she said, "Hey, man, go see the doctor." Babe, I'm cool. I don't need that. And I'm just like the rest of the world, right? If I don't feel right, what do? We Google it. Right. Google said, "You got the following. Oh my God, your arm is going to fall off." That's Google. Went to my primary care. Yeah. He's like, "Man, I don't like what I'm seeing. I need you to go here, here, here. LabCorp, ultrasound, blood work, hematologist." My white blood cell count was abnormally low. He said to me, "I don't even know how you're functioning right now." Went to the ultrasound. They said, "Yeah, you've got this problem." And went to the specialist. He was like, "Man, where you been? Bro, all right." Called in his nurse. He said, "Hey, get the schedule up. Mr. Jennings, we're not gonna play with you. I'm scheduling you for surgery." "Yeah, I'm not even gonna play with you. You're so far gone, we have to surgically repair this." Time for a checkup, right? And sometimes our lesson today talks about worship in our life. And it's time for a spiritual checkup, because worship, it relates directly to your heart, right? And many times we don't do a heart check. We don't. Look, worship begins in the heart of the worshiper, not in the place or form of worship. Yeah. And as we read in our lesson, I'll get into that a little bit further. Worship is an action associated with total honor, reverence, and worth. Worship is personal. We worship together corporately, but worship is personal. Yes. We come together corporately to strengthen each other. That's why I forsake not the assembling of yourselves. You should get together. You should see other people who are going through things like you. You should get together with other people because they can pray for you. Yeah. Not so they can talk about you and put you down. It ain't that kind of party. But we should come together. There is strength in numbers. Yes, I get it. I'm a lone wolf at times too, but there's strength in numbers, right? So in this book of John, who is John? He's a disciple. And John, in this book of John, John wanted you to know who Jesus is. See, we sometimes talk about Jesus in the past tense. He's alive. Jesus is. John wanted you to see who Jesus is. John loved God. He was crazy devoted to Jesus. And John, in this book, wanted you to see who Jesus is, understanding him completely. So when we come into this passage here, by the time we get into John 4, what's happening is that Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, right? And to get to Jerusalem, you have two choices to make. Go through Samaria or go around it. Being a Jew, at this point in history, most Jews, I should say all Jews, chose to go around Samaria. Why? Samaria was full of Samaritans, right? Samaritans developed a peace in the northern side of Israel, northern kingdom, right? And they landed there because this group called the Assyrians, by the way, who were always angry and always trying to take people's stuff, well, the Assyrians had taken over Israel and they were on their way to take over the next kingdom, right? So as they go that way, they left some people behind. Some Assyrians, some other cultures, some other nationalities. Well, the Jews that were also held in captivity, they stayed. Some stayed in that same little parcel of land that became Samaria. They began to intermarry. They began to worship a set of religious rules that were established by the Samaritans, right? So for this, the Jews wanted nothing to do with them, and they wanted nothing to do with the Jews. So it was unheard of for a Jewish man to go through Samaria. This is what I love about Jesus, right? Jesus didn't care about none of that. He had a purpose, and he was going through Samaria to Jerusalem. I want to say this to you right off the bat. Be intentional, right? Be intentional about your worship. Your worship should have purpose. Jesus wasn't worried about what people thought about him. He wasn't worried about the religious custom. He wasn't worried about because everybody else did it, I'm going to do it too. No, I'm going that way. So as Jesus begins to go through, he's headed to meet this woman at the well. Yeah, okay? Now, I've often shared this sometimes when I have Bible studies with the choir. Listen, we make Christianity, evangelism, and the fact of ministering to people, we make it real spooky. It's not spooky. It's a matter of opportunities that present themselves. That's what it is. And it's a conversation. This conversation was started with the fact that somebody was thirsty. And Jesus took advantage of that opportunity to say, well, yeah, I can give you water that you'll never thirst again. Yeah, all of this in this encounter. And listen, Jesus didn't do nothing by chance. So stop trying to live life by chance. Yeah, listen, luck only happens in horseshoes. I know I'm a little old, but maybe some of y'all have never played horseshoes. You're real lucky if you can get that thing next to the pin. Okay, that's the only time luck really occurs. Chances, opportunities, right? So basically, by the time Jesus met her, we get to John 4:20. It says, our fathers worshiped on this mountain, but you Jews say that the place where one ought to worship is in Jerusalem at the temple. First point, don't play games with yourself or with God. Don't play games. Why do I say this? Listen, this well that Jesus got to, this well was situated in between two mountains. One was Mount Ebal, where the Jews believed that this is the place where Moses built an altar to celebrate the Israelites in coming through the promised land. You can find that in Deuteronomy. If you read the 27th chapter, a lot of history there about the Jews coming and going to the promised land, the land that was promised to them. So if something is promised to you by God, there's no man that can stop it from happening. That's just a sidebar. Let me tell you that right now. If God promised it, it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, yeah. So there you had Mount Ebal on one side, and then you had Mount Gerizim on the other side. The Samaritans believed that's the place that was the holy place, the righteous place. Well, in 400 BC, the Samaritans built an altar at Mount Gerizim. In 128 BC, the Jews went there and tore it down. They hated each other. Hated each other. And you know, listen, y'all, let's be honest. Somebody tear down your stuff, me and you ain't gonna be too cool. Yeah, we're not gonna be too cool. So it doesn't shock me that this happened, right? So the hatred between both was real. So by the time we get to 4:20, Jesus understood this woman's needs. In John 4:17, he tells her, I know all about you. She's trying to tell him, oh, I've had many husbands. He said, no, the correct thing right now is what you said, you don't have a husband. He didn't throw it up in her face that she's been married many times. That wasn't his concern. Y'all, sometimes we focus on the wrong thing. We focus on the wrong thing, and we start putting our focus and attention on stuff that really is not relevant. It just isn't. So at this point, Jesus challenged this woman to change her heart and become a true worshiper. As the story went on in John 4, as you get to the latter part of the chapter, this same woman now goes to start telling everybody about this man that she met that changed her perspective. Yeah, so that's why I say, don't try to play these games with God. Don't play the games with yourself, right? Worship starts in the heart. You know where you're at. Don't talk to God as if he doesn't know you. And then we try to reason with God and try to explain to him. That's pretty funny. You're explaining to the creator, you, his creation, about you as if he doesn't know you, though he created you. He knows you intimately. He knew that was going to come out your mouth before you said it. What he's waiting to see is where your faith is at. See, you ain't got enough money to make him move. You don't own enough stuff to make God move. No, what moves him is faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Yeah. So this brings me to my second point. Check yourself. You need to get your own heart healthy. We're going to go to John 4:21 through 23. Jesus replied, "Woman, believe me, a time is coming when God's kingdom comes, when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans do not know what you worship. We Jews do know what we worship, for salvation is from the Jews. But a time is coming and is already here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit, from the heart and inner self, and in truth. For the Father seeks such people to be his worshipers." Listen, in order to get into worship, get yourself right by checking yourself. Check your motivation. Worship begins in the heart. Too much time is spent getting caught up in forms of worship. Yeah, what am I saying? So it's a worship song. It's too fast. It's too slow. You don't do it like this. They don't do it like that. We're looking at forms. Trivial. God is looking at our heart, right? Following trends is easy, but it's not healthy. Yeah, following trends is real easy, but it's not healthy, right? Next, we should understand the meaning for worship, right? Worship seeks to know God. True worship seeks to know God, right? So, AJ, what's so important about that? Because it gets you to a point where you're looking for truth. What does truth do? Truth frees your heart from guilt. Yes, and when you are free of guilt, you can operate much better. Yes, you don't have that kind of weight on your shoulders. You can operate a lot better. I promise you, it is healing. Free yourself from guilt. Truth, amen. And then we need to understand that God wants us to worship him with our lives, right? Our thoughts need to line up with the way that we think. I put something here. Too much time is spent on negative perspectives instead of positive realities and intentional growth. Yeah, we so many times see stuff as negative, man, when we should be seeing positive realities, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That doesn't mean for you to go out there and be foolish. Talking about you doing this in the name of Jesus. That's not reality. That's not reality. It's just not, right? And listen, worship demands total commitment. Yeah, in your heart, worship, that talks about that connection in relationship. My wife and I know each other intimately, right? And I know people automatically say intimate, right away their mind goes into the gutter, right? I tell y'all like they used to sing that old song, elevate your mind, let's go higher. My mind is gone. Come on, y'all. That intimacy that happens in relationship, right? So because of that kind of connection, you're going to want to spend more time with God, worship. You're going to want to do some of the things that you know would please God. worship, because you are now thinking more about him than you are about yourself. Yeah, worship, very important. Then we move to our next point, right? Fix yourself. That's the formal way to say it. I would tell you, man, fix yourself, right? Fix yourself, huh? And here, honest and genuine worship involves sincere expressions of love to God. What are you saying, AJ? You need to be honest with yourself first. Yes, be honest with yourself, because you trying to impress me, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And if you're trying to impress others, I can promise you, you're not going to meet their mark. Because their standards are based upon morals and perceptions that they have built. You're not going to please everybody. Be honest to yourself first. Worship has to become a lifestyle. Yeah. So many times we look at the case of a marathon runner. Man, they train. And sometimes the training is painful. I've seen them running in the rain. I've seen marathon runners today running in this kind of cold. Where's Pastor August? She would know about that. She's doing 5Ks and stuff. Hey, you're doing a lot of different things. But here's the thing about a marathon runner. For them to be able to run marathons, they have to be consistent in their pursuit and training. In worship, you need to be consistent in your pursuit of God. It needs to be consistent. What kind of relationship is that? It has to be consistent. We're wondering why our worship and our heart health spiritually is not where it should be, because our consistency is not where it should be. It's not where it should be. Worship has to become a lifestyle. So you have to be intentional. And look, you have to break some old habits. Listen to this. Coming to church just for the sake of coming, that ain't gonna get it. That ain't gonna get it. No. Pride, arrogance, and selfishness, they all gotta go. All of them gotta go, right? Anything that makes you love serving God more than actually loving God, it's time to check your heart. Yeah, it's time to check your heart, right? God is more interested in us knowing him than our commitment to forms and traditions. Yeah, because a lot of people are stuck in forms, religiosity, tradition. Tradition says this, but they have no relationship or no connection to God. So when God is trying to move, they don't recognize it because they don't know him. He's just somebody they heard about. They don't actually know him. Right? And I love this. Our public worship must be evidence of our private time with God. Yeah. I know. For a lot of people, they're like, oh, man, I'm not trying to show out for a bunch of other people. That's not what I'm saying. But when you spend time intimately with him privately, publicly, when you join corporately, yes, you won't have a problem pressing in. The praise team won't have to sing until they almost fall out to get your attention. If they never say nothing, I'm good. If they never strike a note, I'm good. Yes, when I hit here, I was already prayed up. I was ready for service. I didn't come here and have to get primed up, have to get prayed up, have to get stood up, have to get my hands raised up, have to get pumped up. Done that. Already ready when I walked in the door. That is not arrogance. I am confident in the Jesus I serve, and I'm confident in the God I love. I'm confident in my relationship. I know God, and God knows me. Yes. There should be signs of the fact that you spent time with God. You can't live under standards that the world sets during the week and then come to church on Sunday and try to plug in. Can't. Because when you get here, now you're going to try to get to know him. Too late. You have opportunity to get to know him, but what I'm trying to implore unto you, saints, spend time with God. Get to know him. Don't guess. Know him for yourself. Stop guessing about your relationship. God, is that you? God, is that you? Right, come on. You can't have double standards. Yes, holiness is a lifestyle, and worship is a way of life. Yeah, it should be everything. It should be your thought process. It should be your emotional state. It should be how you walk out your life in public. It shouldn't be just when you come to church, to the saints, so they can see you, so that you look holy. Stop it. Stop that. Fix yourself. Stop that. Stop that. God is not impressed. That doesn't move him. He's not. That's great. Came to church twice this month. That's awesome. Super. Yes. Yeah. And I have educators here. You will not get a gold star for that. You will not. Right, Sister Britt? You're not getting a gold star for that. So the relationship needs to be real all week. All week, not just on Sunday. Oh, man. If your heart is crowded by work, drama, gossip, secret agendas, pride, selfish thoughts, you don't have enough room left over in your heart to love God in the manner that he truly desires. Wow. Yeah. Worship, I said, starts in the heart. And you have all this other stuff in your heart and wondering why the connection is difficult with God. There's no room. He's trying to get in and there's no room. All this other stuff. Just imagine a couch with 8 seats and you filled each seat up with, wow, man, you filled it up with work, drama, gossip, secret agendas. They take up multiple seats. Pride, that's why I'm not looking up at nobody. I'm not looking up. Yep. Pride, selfish thoughts. What about me? What about you? What about you? Yeah. And so then we're trying to make room for God to take a seat in our heart. And you know what's so beautiful about God? He's patient. Man, he's patient. When Jesus encountered that woman at the well, he didn't go in about her history. He didn't condemn her. He didn't look down on her. He allowed her to speak. She said to him, what are you doing talking to me? She knew he was a rabbi. She knew who he was. His disciples, you're a Jew. What are you doing talking to a Samaritan? Come on. Jesus' concern and his agenda and objective was to challenge her to benefit her worship experience and to get her relationship better with God. In so doing, he saw what would happen down by verses 28 through 30. He already knew that. So what was he focused on? He was focused on what he should be doing, not what people are saying. Yes, worship is personal. It is personal. We need to give God the time he truly deserves. And listen, in spirit and in truth, those words lead us to some declarative statements, some declarations you should make over your life. And the sentences should start with, we must. We must be honest with God. We must. We must be honest with ourselves. We must truthfully evaluate our love for God. Let me stop right there. Yeah. God, you know I love you. Does he? Does he? Be truthful. Be truthful. Yes. Take some time to look at your relationship with God. And I find that if you're explaining yourself too much, you know you ain't right. You know you ain't right. You're explaining too much. You're explaining too much. Either you love me or you don't. We ain't got to go through a whole lot of explaining. And your actions will show me you love me. Later for lip service. All this, that's weak. Your actions show me you love me. How you treat me. how you respect me, how you care about me, how you understand, how you listen. Yes, these are all attributes of somebody who loves someone. You actually listen to them because you care about what they're saying. Oh, y'all know it. Hey, man, how you doing? They were trying to tell you how they doing. You were already gone. You gone. Hey, man, everything good? Oh, okay, yeah, man, that's great. You're already gone. You're already gone, right? And we do God the same way. He's good enough to give you stuff, but he's not good enough to listen to. Yeah. What kind of relationship is that? That's abuse. That's abuse. And you know it. You know it. Because if someone did that to you, y'all know how y'all would do. Eventually, you would cut them off. Man, this dude, all he wants is something. Why he can't ever be high? Oh, here he go. Hey, man, how you doing? Yeah, all right, man. Cool. Right. And unfortunately, we do God the same way. See? Because as soon as we get what we need, y'all know it's Christmas time. We do him like the elf on the shelf. Yeah. Put him right up on the shelf. Then when you feel the bottom is falling out, notice I said when you feel it, all of a sudden, you know, we're deep diving with God. We can't get enough of him. Then eventually, you feel, again, notice I say you feel, the situation has righted itself. So then he gets put back on the shelf. Yes. See, in order to know him in spirit and truth, we must have an intense desire to know and love God completely. Yes. We spend too much time just trying to know him for circumstances. Yeah. So unless something bad happens, you're not really trying to know him at all. So when you feel like everything's going good, hey, he's just casual. It's just casual. There's no intimacy whatsoever. It's just a casual relationship with God. And I'm telling you, to be a worshiper, your relationship needs to go to the next level. It needs to be intimate. You need to spend time with him daily. Daily. Any relationship that you have now that has grown, you have worked on that relationship. You have spent time. You have gotten to know each other. Yes. And listen, in all relationships, let's be honest, y'all, you don't approve of everything. No, you don't. Some things you don't approve of, and then eventually you gain an understanding, and you two communicate. I said communicate. You actually communicate, which means that one talks and listens, and the other listens and talks. Both can't talk at the same time. It's not possible for your brain to process that. It's not possible. That's not even a man thing. It's a human being thing. It's not possible for both to talk at the same time. One has to listen at some point and then gain some understanding. Here's another concept. In gaining understanding, you have to actually wait for an answer. Yes. And we do this, and to be a true worshiper, the relationship requires that total commitment that we talked about. It requires you to communicate with your father. It requires you to read about your father. It requires you to spend time with your father. Yes, and it requires you to trust your father. Yes. All these things are requirements that are kingdom-based that will help your worship experience. It is time for a checkup. Time to check your heart. Stop playing games with yourself and with God. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. Don't challenge God to see if he's real, to see if he's still there. You don't need to challenge him. Get to know him. He's always there. He's always there. Check yourself. Check your heart. Check your motives. Amen. Check your motives. And then begin to do the work to fix yourself. What did I do? I did what the doctor told me. Did I like the prognosis he gave me? I didn't like it. Did I like the fact that I had to now spend the next 4 months recovering? No, I didn't like it. I even tried one time to go. My wife and I went out. I said, oh, babe, I'm feeling great today. Man, we walked about 2 blocks. I was trying to clutch stuff. I got to sit down. We had to find a restaurant so I could sit down. I only walked 2 blocks. I shouldn't have walked 2 blocks. But I was pushing the envelope, trying to go outside the doctor's instructions. And we do the same thing to God, trying to go outside his instructions, and then we endure more pain and have to understand I need to follow the instructions he gave me. Fix yourself. It is highly possible. Change your thought process. Strengthen the relationship to get yourself into a place of a healthy worship life. Change your lifestyle. Yes. Why do we say it's hard? Everything to us appears to be hard because change is not comfortable. Because as human beings, we are comfortable in the state that we're in. Yeah, the moment you change that, we become uncomfortable. Why? Because we feel like we no longer control the environment. We are creatures of habit. We must control our environment. We try to control the worship experience. That's where that form and tradition comes in. We try to control every last aspect of it. They ain't sing it right. They ain't do it right. He telling me to clap my hands too much. Why I gotta stand? Why I gotta, hey, change your mindset. Change your mind. That will impact your heart. All of us in here are manifestations of what's in our heart. Yeah, we've heard it and we laugh about it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Everybody kind of like, yeah. Well, a worshiper, a true worshiper, the ones that are spoken of in spirit and in truth, it begins in the heart. It begins by us not playing games with ourselves, followed by checking up on our own self. It's time for that checkup, y'all. It's time for the checkup and then fixing ourselves. Amen. Amen. I hope I left something with you today that will bless you in Jesus' name.